Colour prejudice, is nothing more than the unreasoning hatred of the one race for another, the contempt of the stronger and richer peoples, for those whom they consider inferior to themselves, and the bitter resentment of those who are kept in subjection and are so frequently insulted. As colour is the most obvious outward manifestation of race, it has been made the criterion by which men are judged, irrespective of their social or educational attainments. The light-skinned races have come to despise all those of darker skin, and the dark-skinned people will no longer accept without protest the inferior position to which they have been relegated.
Dirty nigger, or simply, look, a negro. I came into the world imbued with the will to find a meaning in things, my spirit filled with the desire to attain to the source of the world, and then I found that I was an object in the midst of other objects. Sealed into the crushing objecthood, I turned beseechingly to others. Their attention was a liberation, running over my body suddenly, abraded into non-being, endowing me once more with an agility that I had thought lost, and by taking me out of the world, restoring me to it. But just as I reached the other side, I stumbled, and the movements, the attitudes, the glances of the other fixed me there, in the sense in which a chemical solution is fixed by a dye. I was indignant. I demanded an explanation. Nothing happened. I burst apart. Now the fragments have been put together again by another self. As long as the black man is among his own, he will have no occasion, except in minor internal conflicts, to experience his being through others. There is, of course, the moment of being for others, of which Hegel speaks, but every ontology is made unattainable in colonized and civilized society. It would seem that this fact has not been given sufficient attention by those who have discussed the question. In the Shong of colonized people, there is an impurity, a flaw that outlaws any ontological explanation. Someone may object that this is the case with every individual, but such an objection merely conceals a basic problem. Ontology, once it is finally admitted as leaving existence by the wayside, does not permit us to understand the being of the black man. For not only must the black man be black, he must be black in relation to the white man. Some critics will take it on themselves to remind us that this proposition has a converse. I say that this is false. The black man has no ontological resistance in the eyes of the white man. Overnight, the Negro has been given two frames of reference within which he has placed himself. His metaphysics, or, less pretentiously, his customs, and the sources on which they were based, were wiped out because they were in conflict with a civilization that he did not know and that imposed itself on him. The black man among his own in the 20th century does not know at what moment his inferiority comes into being through the other. Of course, I have talked about the black problem with friends, or more rarely, with American Negroes. Together we protested. We asserted the equality of all men in the world. And in the Antilles, there was also that little gulf that exists among the mulatto and the nigger. But I was satisfied with the intellectual understanding of these differences. It was not really dramatic. And then the occasion arose when I had to meet the white man's eyes, and burdened me. The real world challenged my claims. In the white world, the man of color encounters difficulties in the development of his bodily schema. Consciousness of the body is solely a negating activity. For several years, certain laboratories have been trying to produce a serum for denigrification. All the earnestness in the world, laboratories have sterilized their test tubes, checked their scales, and embarked on researches that might make it possible for the miserable Negro to whiten himself and thus to throw off the burden of that corporal malediction. Below the corporal scheme, I had sketched a historico-racial schema. The elements that I used had been provided for me, not by residual sensations and perceptions primarily of a tactical, vestibular, kinesthetic, and visual character, but by the other, the white man, who had woven me out of 1,000 details, anecdotes, stories. I thought that what I had in hand was to construct a physiological self, to balance space, to localize sensations, and here I was called on for more. Look, a Negro! It was an external stimulus that flicked over me as I passed by. I made a tight smile. Look, a Negro! It was true. It amused me. Look, a Negro! The circle was drawing a bit tighter. I made no secret of my amusement. Mama, see the Negro! I'm frightened! 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 Now they were beginning to be afraid of me. I made up my mind to laugh myself to tears, but laughter had become impossible. On that day, completely dislocated, unable to be abroad with the other, the white man, who unmercifully imprisoned me, I took myself far off from my own presence, far indeed, and made myself an object. What else could it be for me but an amputation, an excision, a hemorrhage that spattered my whole body with black blood? But I did not want this revision, this femitization. All I wanted was to be a man among other men. I wanted to come leaf and young into a world that was ours and to help to build it together. But I rejected all immunization of the emotions. I wanted to be a man, nothing but a man. Some identified me with ancestors of mine who had been enslaved or lynched. I decided to accept this. It was on a universal level of the intellect that I understood this inner kinship. I was the grandson of slaves in exactly the same way in which President LeBron was the grandson of tax-paying, hard-working peasants. In the main, the panic soon vanished. In America, Negroes are segregated. In South America, Negroes are whipped in the streets, and Negro strikers are cut down by machine guns. In West Africa, the Negro is an animal, and there beside me, my neighbor in the university, who was born in Algeria, told me, as long as the Arab is treated like a man, no solution is possible. Understand, my dear boy, color prejudice is something I find utterly foreign. But of course, come in, sir. There is no color prejudice among us. Quite, the Negro is a man like ourselves. It is not because he is black that he is less intelligent than we are. I had a Senegalese buddy in the army who was really clever. I sit down at the fire and I become aware of my uniform. I had not seen it. It is indeed ugly. I stop there, for who can tell me what beauty is? All the same, the Jew can be unknown in his Jewishness. He is not wholly what he is. One hopes, one waits. His actions, his behavior are the final determinant. He is a white man, and apart from some other rather debatable characteristics, he can sometimes go unnoticed. He belongs to the race of those who since the beginning of time have never known cannibalism. What an idea, to eat one's father. Simply enough, one is only not to be a nigger. Granted, the Jews are harassed. What am I thinking of? They are hunted down, exterminated, cremated. But these are little family quarrels. The Jew is disliked from the moment he is tracked down. But in my case, everything takes on a new guise. I am given no chance. I am overdetermined from without. I am a slave, not of the idea that others have of me, but of my own appearance. I move slowly in the world, accustomed now to seek no longer for upheaval. I progress by crawling, and already I am being dissected under white eyes, the only real eyes. I am fixed. I slip into corners, and my long antennae pick up the catchphrases strewn over the surface of things. Nigger underwear smells of nigger. Nigger teeth are white. Nigger feet are big. The nigger's barrel chest. I slip into corners. I remain silent. I strive for anonymity, for invisibility. Look, I'll accept the lot, as long as no one notices me. The evidence was there, unalterable. My blackness was there, dark and unarguable. And it tormented me, pursued me, disturbed me, angered me. Negroes are savages, brutes, illiterate. But in my own case, I knew that these statements were false. There was a myth of the Negro that had to be destroyed at all costs. After much reluctance, the scientists had conceded that the Negro was a human being, in vivo and in vitro. The Negro had been proved analogous to the white man, the same morphology, the same histology. In the abstract, there was an agreement. The Negro is a human being,